This chart shows targeted killing operations carried out by Western nations since World War II. And up at the very top, with over 2,700 operations, is Israel. They've assassinated more people than any other country in the modern Western world. To put that 2,700 number into perspective, look at the United States. During the presidencies of George W. Bush and Barack Obama, at the absolute height of the War on Terror, the U.S. carried out roughly 400 targeted attacks. The logic behind this massive disparity is best explained by Meir Dagan, a legendary former chief of the Mossad. Dagan argued that neutralizing a few key figures is highly effective and saves the lives of countless soldiers and civilians. As he liked to say, sometimes it's most effective to kill the driver, and that's that. This strategy was born out of stark geography. In 1948, Israel was a tiny, fledgling democracy, entirely surrounded by hostile Arab nations intent on its destruction. The country simply didn't have the manpower or resources to defend its long, convoluted borders through conventional warfare alone. To secure the state, Israeli leadership engineered a bureaucratic workaround. They created two entirely separate legal systems. There is the standard legal system for ordinary citizens, and then there is a hidden, highly classified set of protocols specifically for the intelligence community and defense establishment. Operating under the direct command of the Prime Minister, this hidden structure shields the intelligence agencies from public scrutiny and parliamentary oversight. It allows the state to bypass its own laws, creating an autonomous shadow realm designed specifically to maintain a continuous, extrajudicial assassination machine. But targeted killing didn't start as official government policy. To trace its origins, we have to look back to the British Mandate era in Palestine in the 1940s, before Israel even existed. At that time, radical Zionist underground militias were fighting to force the British out. The most extreme of these groups, known as Lehi, embraced a campaign of personal terror. Operatives would conduct brazen daytime assassinations, like gunning down a British intelligence officer named Tom Wilkin on the streets of Jerusalem. The mainstream Jewish leadership recoiled at these tactics. David Ben-Gurion, the head of the Autonomous Governing Authority and future prime minister, strictly forbade his forces from using personal terror. The internal conflict peaked in 1946, when another underground militia, the Irgun, planted explosives in the King David Hotel in Jerusalem, killing 91 people. Ben-Gurion was furious. He publicly denounced the group, calling them an enemy of the Jewish people. In the years leading up to independence, the architects of the future state viewed assassination strictly as a rogue extremist tool. It was a threat to their political legitimacy, entirely separate from the organized defense forces they were trying to build. That mainstream rejection of preemptive violence evaporated when Palestinian Jewish soldiers fighting for the British Army pushed into Europe and uncovered the Nazi concentration camps. When the soldiers from the land of Israel met the survivors of the Holocaust, they felt a profound sense of shame and anger. They could not understand how millions had gone to the slaughter without fighting back. Right then, they violently rejected the stereotype of the weak, persecuted victim. They determined that going forward, they would strike first. Without the knowledge of their British commanders, they formed a secret unit called Gemul, Hebrew for recompense. Operating deep in Europe, small teams hunted down high-ranking SS officers who had slipped back into civilian life. They would lure the targets into the back of canvas-covered transport trucks, quietly break their necks, and dump the bodies. This trauma cemented a national mindset that would define the new state. The Jewish people realized they could never rely on the international community for protection. Preemptive, lethal force was now seen as a strict moral imperative for survival. When Israel declared independence in 1948, that doctrine was immediately put to the test. Beyond surviving a war against multiple invading armies, the new state faced a grueling campaign of cross-border infiltration. Militants known as Fedayeen infiltrated Israel to bomb train tracks, mine roads, and murder civilians. Faced with an existential threat and a sprawling border, Ben-Gurion was forced to compromise. He needed men willing to operate ruthlessly behind enemy lines. So he recruited the very underground fighters he had once hunted, folding them into Israel's newly minted intelligence triad, the Mossad, the Shin Bet, and military intelligence. Once inside the government, these operatives industrialized their methods. The military set up a secret facility where explosives officers like Natan Rodberg mass-produced lethal devices. Rodberg called it his matchmaker's office, mixing explosive chemicals into wicker baskets filled with fruit, which agents delivered to Fedayeen commanders. In just a few years, targeted killing completed a full evolution. It had been pulled from the hands of rogue militants and woven directly into the bureaucratic machinery of a recognized state, backed by state funding and high-level military intelligence. Over the following decades, this system matured into a highly sophisticated machine. It seamlessly merged the grit of underground guerrilla warfare with the surveillance tools of a modern technological powerhouse, utilizing armed drones, advanced digital tracking, and precision explosives. It broadcasted a chilling, unambiguous message to the world. If you actively plot against Israeli citizens, the state will find you and kill you, no matter where you are hiding. Looking back at the paradox Mayor Dagon laid out, it is undeniable that this shadow realm achieved its primary goal. By systematically eliminating key threats, it preempted devastating terror attacks, repeatedly delayed the need for catastrophic conventional wars, and saved countless lives. But this continuous reliance on extrajudicial violence carries an immense weight. Because it operates entirely outside normal democratic laws and parliamentary scrutiny, the system functions without independent oversight. As a direct result, the state has repeatedly authorized operations that resulted in the deaths of innocent civilians, treating them as necessary collateral damage in the line of fire. The strategy of killing the driver provided the tactical edge a small, embattled democracy needed to survive its first century, but it also ensured that Israel's continued existence would be permanently tethered to an unrelenting, secret machinery of death.